Hey guys, Coach Dan here. So get to know you segment for me today is going to be the what is Coach Dan pondering these days or currently. So I suppose the thing that and this has come up throughout my whole personal training and coaching career. So I've been doing it for 10 plus years now. And the concept that comes up over and over again, because it's not a easily answered question, is why are people not consistent with their exercise and health programs and stuff like that? And what I've come to think recently is it's just a difficult thing that needs to be repeated over and over and over again. And it's almost like, you can't really not do it because you do tend to take some steps back. So it's like if we actually want the best we possibly can, we kind of got to build it one layer at a time, and the other layer builds upon the next layer and so on and so forth. So the analogy I like to give is like building a house, you know what I mean? So when you first lay down the foundation of a house, I'm not a house building expert, so forgive me if I get some of this analogy wrong. You kind of put the foundation and it doesn't look like there's much that's happened at all. So if you think about that from the gym, is like you start training, maybe feel a bit better about yourself, but nothing's really obviously changed. So it's not like you get a massive reward or gratification for the effort that you've put in. And then usually people aren't consistent. So if you were to lay down foundation for a house and come back months later, the foundation would still be there, and then you could build on top of that. Now with humans, because we're biological, you put that foundation down and then you take a couple months off, and then that foundation can kind of disintegrates over time. So because we don't build upon the previous layer, you just kind of essentially taking the same steps over and over and over again, not ever seeing any progress, because you lay the foundation, not consistent, come back, foundation's gone, you lay the foundation again, and so on and so forth. So the idea or the analogy of building a house is like building your body is pretty apt, I think, and people just, they can't usually stick at it for long enough because it's quite difficult to see the house sort of come to life and go, oh yeah, like now I can see some progress, now I'm getting rewarded, now I'm getting some gratification, I can continue on. So, I think the idea of kind of building the house one layer at a time, delaying that gratification, all that kind of stuff is pretty important because, if you stick at it for a long enough period of time, it can give you a lot of value back. But even, I've been doing it for a fairly long time now, and even for me, is like you don't see results straight away, but from experience after you've had enough experience, over the next couple of months, there's not going to be something obviously changed necessarily. But if I stick for this for a long period of time, like it's going to pay off because you get more experience. So that's the thing I'm pondering these days. Why, it's tough for people to stay consistent. How do we get that for all people? Like it's not I don't think an answerable question at the moment, so maybe we have to wait for drugs and genetic modification. I'm kidding. But anyway. All right, what we got on cards today is legs or lower body, first one of the week. So we go hack squat today. First up, I started that brutal drop set last week, so I might have pushed out a little bit on that one. So I got to, oh no, you're not allowed to say push. I want to push a little bit harder on that one, make sure I'm not such a wuss about it. All right, see you out there. All right, first up as usual on lower body day number one, we got hack squat. No reason to stop now. This one's still jacking my legs up. So I'll put a card up here. I went through foot position last week in my lower body video. So if you want to see where I place my feet, I know you can't see it from here, but check out that video. So just for a quick refresher, about shoulder width apart, kind of mid-platform here. Usually low is quite good on a machine like this, allowing lots of stretch and making it really hard on the quads. I personally turn my toes out of touch. Now I've also got these yoga blocks here, which is going to allow extra range for me. So for me, because I'm not very tall, when I get to the bottom of this machine, I'm not at full knee flexion yet. So I go yoga blocks under here for extra range. So good control on the way down. See if we can get lots of knee flexion. We want to make sure we have a position that feels good on my joints, no pain or anything like that, but also fucks my quads up pretty good. So that's what we're going for here. So today's hack squat workout, a heavy set, 6 to 8 reps, 2 kind of moderate rep sets of about 10 to 15 reps. And after that second moderate rep set, we then go straight into a drop set. So I do that set, adjust the weights, and then pretty much start my set straight after I've adjusted the weights. So I added that in last week. I might have bitched it a little bit. So the goal today, not to be as much a little bitch. That's the goal. All right, let's get it on. Hack squats done. Cool. So one top set, 6 to 8, nice and heavy. Kind of went up a rep from last week, so I'm happy with that. Not sure how the form is, I'll have to check it later. And then finish on the drop set there. It's uncomfortable. It's painful, but I'm able to get that little bit extra work in a short period of time. So importantly with the drop set, set number 1, it has to be pretty tough. So close to failure, close to fatigue. Otherwise, when you kind of go for that drop set, either the reps blow out, or the benefit of a drop set, or one of the benefits is we get 2 sets both close to failure in a short period of time. So, and we just have to reduce load. So I'm not sure if it's the smartest move doing it on here, because I'm still breathing really heavy, and if that second set, if the first part of the drop set jacks up the heart rate so much that, you know, get into the actual drop set, can't do too many reps because I'm just too out of breath, which I still am, but My legs feel fucked, so that's probably a good sign. Yeah, we'll see. It's tough. Anyway, let's move on. We've got some availability here for our modified step ups. Let's check in there. The pain in my quads won't go away. Last time I felt this, it was like I did intervals on the air bike back in 19. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a while since I felt this. That feeling that they just won't recover and flush out. But it should be okay to warm up here. So now we go my modified step up. Now the reason we have to do it modified is because this Smith machine tops out. So I've got this box here as high as I can keep it, get it, without me hitting the top of the Smith machine. So how I have to modify it to make it as effective for my glutes as possible is I have to step back. So it's almost like a step up slash split squat kind of thing, right? So firstly, box lined up directly with where the bar is going to be. Now, that makes sense because the weight, which is going to be on this bar in a second here, I want to come down over the top of my knee. And if it's over the top of my knee, it means it's far away from my hip. And if it's far away from my hip, it's going to make it harder on the muscles that extend the hip. We call that a moment arm. So the longer the moment arm, the harder it is to extend that joint. And therefore, the harder it is on the muscles that extend that joint, my glutes. So that's number one. I want the weight to come down far away from the joint that's moving to kind of disadvantage that muscle group, make it work harder, make the quads not as much. The other thing is I'm going to lean forward as I step my back foot back. So I'll start on this leg, bar onto the shoulders. So yeah, if I were to go any higher with this step up, I would go to the top of the machine. If I just do a standard step up, that's all the hip flexion that I'm getting. I want a lot more. I want to make my glute stretch out, which means getting my chest as close to my leg or knee as possible. So I'll step back into it. This will stretch my glute out almost as far as it can, and therefore make it quite hard on my glute. A couple on the other leg. What you can see along with this is that my knee doesn't bend very far. So I'm only getting a small amount of knee flexion, not a lot of stretch in the quad, a lot of hip flexion, chest to the leg, making it as glutey as possible. And it has been for me. I've felt some soreness from this. So we're happy with this. 2 sets here, because that's all really I need for glutes on this day. I've got another exercise to cap them off later. All right, let's build up to the weight and then we'll smash it out if my quads can hang in that. Smith machine step up. Likes about that. Really feel my glutes well. Don't feel that my quads are able to get into the game too much because I don't let them bend too much. Like smash them on the hack squat, smash them on the leg press. Here I try to not allow them to do as much so the glutes can do more. Things I dislike, there's a bit of back fatigue that comes along with this. Or one of the other things I like is stability. So to use the Smith machine, get that stability, but load the back And you can see with my modified technique, I lean forward. So it's almost like a single leg RDL or deadlift. So there's a little bit of cost to my back there. But yeah, I go to dumbbells or free weight or something like that, lose some stability. So yeah, it's worth a play around to figure that out. What's there? Is the trade-off of back fatigue worth it? Might have to do some experimenting there. All right, leg curl coming up now. All right, next up we have the seated hamstring curl. So main benefit of the seated hamstring curl is this position here where we get this big stretch. So when we do it, we're gonna crank the legs up as high as possible, pre-stretch the hamstring. This is almost as if we were doing like a sit and reach stretch, and that stretch has been shown more and more to be important for muscle growth, so training the muscle in a lengthened position. So when you do a lying hamstring curl, you think you're lying outright. So we do have an extended knee, but not a flexed hip for that extra stretch. So this goes up as high as your mobility and flexibility will allow. Heels come down towards the butt, control the way up, feel the hamstring tension, and repeat. So something that I'll do, which is a bit of a unique strategy at the end of this, is I will do some half reps at the end to kind of finish off. So when I can't any longer get it all the way to the bottom, I'll then do a couple of half reps to kind of finish things off. So this is my only hamstring exercise for today, and I have on my other lower body day a couple of exercises. So 3 total sets here, 10 to 15 each time. Let's get it on. All right, we cap off the glute work, the machine abduction. So with the step up squats, etc., the main focus is hip flexion and extension. So that's the one of the main jobs of your glutes is hip extension. So like the hip thrust or the squeezing your butt kind of thing. So when your hips come forward. But a potential other function of the glutes is abduction. So if you've ever seen the glutes on like an anatomical model, you'll see that they kind of come up and attach to the bottom or the top of your pelvis, the back side of your pelvis, and they kind of move slightly towards the outside of the leg. So that abduction movement, as well as the hip extension, is probably a function of the glutes that we should probably train both. Do we have to train them both in the same session all the time? No, but I'm just ticking both boxes for today. So my setup involves the yoga blocks again. So this is going to allow to push my knees closer together, allowing for a bigger stretch through the fibers that are going to abduct. I stand up first because otherwise it's a bit of a tight squeeze. Click it into the most narrow one. I also lean forward and flex the hips and drive the knees out from there. So this is my technique. It's not the only technique if you don't like this particular version. Again, we're just trying to get hip extension and get the knees as close together, hip flexion to stretch out, as well as adduction to stretch the glute fibers out as far as possible, and then go through as large a range as possible. 2 sets here, high rep range, 10 to 20, and then we move on. We're going good here, people, we're going good. Machine abduction. So yoga blocks, push my knees further together so I go through a larger range. Lean forward, again, just to stretch those glutes out a little bit further. I found that technique to feel good for me, so I've continued on with it. That was a effective couple of sets there. I think the thing to keep in mind here is that your body's not dumb. Your body's going to want to shuffle you forward because that'll make it easier. So when you line up your knees, wherever they line up at the beginning, you just kind of line them up, keep them there. So we know it's the same difficulty all the way. If I start to go this way, start to get more reps because I'm putting myself in a better position to do it, then we'll essentially seem like we're making progress when we're potentially not. So line them up at the beginning and keep them there the whole time. All right, we've done things a little bit out of order, but we go leg extension next. Next on the agenda, we have 2 sets of leg extension. So again, I've got my handy dandy yoga blocks here for my setup here to allow my legs to get pushed back further this way, allowing further stretch from my quads and hopefully leading to more growth. It's not certain, just there's some merit to doing it, so I do it. Feels good for me. The other thing I do is I take the seat and I take it all the way back. Now the leg extension is probably best suited to train the rectus femoris, which is one of the quadricep muscles, so quad meaning 4, which kind of runs through the set, straight down the center, also attaches over to your hip. So it helps with hip flexion, so essentially flexing your hip like that, as well as extending your knee. So with that in mind, when we do things like squats and leg press and stuff like that, as I do one of its job, I'm essentially doing the opposite job. So as I extend the knee, I'm also extending the hip, whereas the hip the rectus femoris would flex the hip, all right? So at this joint, it's trying to work, and at this joint, it's trying to sort of lengthen. So the leg press, the squats, those kind of movements don't use it as well. So this one here, we want to try and make sure that's the focus. So opening up the hip and stretching it out has a lot of value. Yoga blocks here, again, just for further knee flexion. Things I focus on when doing this as far as execution goes. Full extension of the knee to begin with, control the way down, allow to feel the tension all throughout the quads. Highest on the rep range here, so 10 to 20. Last week my performance went down the toilet because I added in the drop set for the hack squat. So hopefully I'm in a little bit of shape this week from having practiced that 1 week before. All right, enough shit talk. Let's get after it. Leg extension done literally. So my setup for the leg extension involves the yoga blocks, leaning all the way back, trying to get big stretch through the quad, and particularly the rectus femoris, which passes both the knee and the hip. So an open hip and a fully flexed knee fully stretches it out, and that's what we're aiming for here. Squats and leg presses, etc. Train all those other quadricep muscles. This one, it's about a recce fem here. All right, superset of calves and abs to finish. Your little beauty. Now's about the time of the workout that I just want to go home. But I still want to get jacked up calves and keep working on my abs. So how am I going to do that? Superset. So I'm going to do a leg press calf raise and an abdominal exercise back to back right next to each other here. So I'll show you that one in a second. This is going to help save me a little bit of time. I'm basically going to do my set here, roll over, jump on this mat that I'll show you in a second, do my set there, and then just go back and forth. I might write my reps down in between, but that's really the other rest. The fact that they work different muscle groups kind of means that they don't affect each other too much, and these supersets can be a really useful time-saving strategy. I don't love them all the time, but now's a good time for it. And again, in a commercial gym, you just have to be mindful of equipment and stuff like that and choosing that appropriately. So, firstly, leg press calf raise. So I set about half my foot on, so at least the ball of my big toe on the platform, which will allow me to produce good force. Push up, stretch underneath like we're doing a calf stretch, raise up onto the toes. Bada bing, bada boom. Big stretch, feel that stretch in the calf, raise up. Now hopefully your leg press doesn't have a platform under here that blocks your range of motion. Ours doesn't, or this particular one doesn't. We have another leg press there which does. So I choose this one to do my calf raises. So that's part one of the superset. Part two is a V-up, an abdominal exercise. I'll show you in a sec. So V-up's a good decision here because I can set it up right next to the leg press. I started doing this again last week. Feels effective to me. That's all I really need to know. I might eventually need to hold a dumbbell or something like that, but for now, body weight's good. So nice and long at the bottom. Feet and hands coming towards each other. So we have that V-up position. Learned that back in the gymnastic days. Always really liked that one. In place of this one, what was I doing? Maybe lying leg raise. Been doing that for months, got a bit over it. So sub this in, it also works really well here. So leg press is just here, 10 to 20 reps. Here, I think I got 15 reps last week, so maybe I'll see if I can get a little bit better than that. And I just go 1, write down my reps, 2, write down my reps, save a bunch of time. All right, I'll show you what a superset looks like here. All right, that's a wrap on the workout, guys. So push, hack squat, drop set, brutal. I felt like I was cycling the Tour de France, right? Just burning at the top of one of those massive hills. That's a bit of an exaggeration. No, but good stuff all in all, yeah. So just to reiterate from the start of from the intro there, is that like when it comes to resistance training or training in the gym, it's kind of like building a house that fades away if you don't continue to build it, you know what I mean? Like at the beginning, you're just laying the groundwork and it looks like not much is going on. As you build more and more layers and kind of finish things off, oh yeah, now I'm starting to see some change, some new things, some tones, some whatever it might be as far as we go. But you have to kind of stick at it over the course of time. You have to lay the platform. You can't go away for a couple of months because that platform will start to disintegrate, or the what do you guys call it in the building industry? Footings, or whatever the base level's called for building, you build that. If you go away for a couple of months, it starts to disintegrate a little bit. If you're building and you go away for a couple of months, it just stays there. So that's a little difference between humans and building structures, in case you are confused. But yeah, just you have to stick at things for a long enough period of time to see change. And you don't get that feedback straight away. Like you work your job, a week or a fortnight later, you get some pay. You don't often get that with the gym. You have to wait a little bit longer. You might get some feel-good feelings of, I've moved my body how I should, and that's a good thing. But actual results that you're trying to work towards, sometimes they're months into the future for you to kind of start to see that. So we've got to grind it out. Once you get a little bit of experience though in doing, grinding it out and sticking it out, you get the results, and then you go, oh, that's how it's done. You can grind things out for longer periods of time. We build that discipline, we build those habits, and you just keep smashing it out. So, but it all is like building that building, right? Laying one level on top of the next, come back, lay the next level, lay the next level, lay the next level regularly, and eventually you have yourself a mansion. Nah, it's hard work building a mansion, but eventually we get there. So guys, that's the end of everything. If you like what you see in these workouts, remember, hit this button up here for a subscribe. That would really help us out. If you want to see how I train some of the other muscle groups in my program and just my program in general, click this playlist up here and that'll show you everything. And remember, as always, it's all about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.